Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool arcade repair video for you this evening. This is obviously Atari's fantastic Tempest arcade game. I've been getting over a cold lately, so my voice sounds weird. I feel great. My voice just doesn't sound great. This was the first color vector arcade game. Now, if you don't know what a vector monitor is, think asteroids. So the little straight lines and stuff. Now, if you're a pro from back in the day, of course you know damn well what a color vector monitor is. This was the first one that had it in it. So we had a customer bring us this game and a few others, and he wants us to figure out what's going on with it. Now, I believe he said that this one, the lines shake or something on the monitor. I've heard that before, so I don't know. I may have that wrong. I tried to get Joey to write it down, but you all know how that goes. I mean, you know what goes on when I try to get Joey to write it down. So I believe this game is going to be operated after we get it fixed. So it's in pretty decent shape. It's kind of worn at the bottom. There's some stuff going on. It's not perfect or anything, but hey, it's still here. I think this has been replaced at some point. The overlay. There you go. I know y'all like that. Good old Tempest. Boy, it's good to have you back, Tempest. We haven't seen one in a while. The art's seen better days, but I believe that's the original side art. The way they made these at the Atari factory, there was somehow they applied this material to the particle board. All right, there you go. Now you know the whole thing, folks. If you haven't seen one up close, there you are. So this board came with that on it. So today we call that melamine, but that's not what it was. It was kind of what cabinets were made out of, and they could have different textures and stuff. So anyway, it came like that, and then they silk screened the art on the board when it was still a sheet. Right? So they did it with all the Atari stuff. Very cool. So they didn't make the cabinet out of this and then stick the art to it. The cabinet already had this white stuff on it, and then they silk screened the art on the full sheet and then cut the cabinet out. It's kind of crazy. You wouldn't think they'd do it that way, but that's how they did it. And then eventually that stuff separates from it. So whenever you get new reproduction art and it's a big sticker that you put on it, it's very similar to the original, but it's not the original. By the way, you can prove that if you ever peel one of these off. If you're working on one, underneath it you will see some of this artwork, some of the lines from it and stuff in the wood. That's because of the heat that was used whenever they silk screened it and stuff like that. I am not a printing expert, but that's how I understand it. Okay, so we need to take the back door off so we can look inside of it to make sure everything's cool before we plug it up and the cord is inside of it. So I couldn't plug it up even if I wanted to. So I pulled the cord out. You get to see what the inside of a Tempest looks like, in case you ever wondered. So there is the power brick, they call it, down on the bottom. That's the transformer assembly with the fuses. And with Atari's famous Big Blue capacitor. That one's been replaced though, so now it's a big black capacitor, or a BBC. Okay, and so then the power goes from there up to this rectifier board. Or did they call it the regulator board? I think it was called the regulator board. The audio regulator board. The regulator audio board. The famous AR2. So these voltages down here are AC. They go up here, are changed to DC and regulated and all of this stuff. Right? That has all new capacitors on it. So hopefully that's correct. Then it runs over here to the game board. Now, Tempest was very complex, and again, it was the first color vector game. I see a chip down there with a label on it. Nope, it's just a reflection. This thing used a bunch of bunch of stuff. What the hell am I looking at? Is something hanging off of the... Oh no, that must be some kind of kit. Oh no, that's the... What in the world? What am I looking at? Let's get closer. Oh, it's just an unused connector. Okay. I remembered this one. I didn't remember that one. Okay, so we're good. All right, so everything looks good. Now, the gentleman said that it comes up, but there's some kind of problem with the monitor. So maybe we can just try this one and see how it goes instead of going all through all the voltages and stuff first. Now, here is the famous color vector monitor. This is the Wells Garner 6100, WG 6100. This is the deflection board. Right, and the low voltage section in these gives you all kinds of problems. So someone has replaced it with a brand new low voltage section from Arcade Shop. So that basically is going to make a plus 27 and a minus 27 voltage from the unregulated voltage down here. So AC voltage comes from here up into the monitor and then ends up in this section, and then is rectified with diodes, and then is regulated down to 26 volts, or I think it's 27 volts. And then that is used by a bunch of stuff to cause the deflection. That same voltage is also sent over here to the high voltage unit. So, is this the one where you can't remove it without taking it out of the cabinet? Not sure. So this is the high voltage unit. It is used to create high voltage. So right in the middle there is a potentiometer that adjusts the high voltage. There's some capacitors in there that have been replaced. I can't tell if the Zener diodes have been replaced or not. Usually knock on particle board. The flybacks are pretty reliable on the 6100s. Okay, so I think we go for it and see what she's doing. All right, so we're looking for fuses that pop. We're looking for a light here that will tell us that the board at least has some semblance of 5 volts on it. And we're looking at this spot killer light, which should not stay on. Okay, so here we go. Sounds like it's up. See the 2 lights on the low voltage unit? Now typically I wouldn't have just turned that on like that, but the customer told us that the thing's working, but it's just not working right. So I didn't see any fuses blow, didn't see anything go bad. So you might say, well, why didn't you just plug it in immediately? Well, I wanted to look to make sure there wasn't anything rolling around inside the cabinet. We got nothing. Dead as a doornail, folks. Well, there we go. We got something. Yeah, that's not good at all. It's like the focus is all screwed up. Let me turn off the lights so you can see it. All right, now, to those of you who are old school arcade people, this is a vector monitor. I continue to be amazed at how things find a new way of breaking. I have never seen a vector monitor doing this kind of crap. It looks like a raster monitor. So basically, you're supposed to be seeing little fine lines drawn everywhere, like almost like a spider web. Like on asteroids, but instead the entire screen is lit up, colors all over the place. That's just unbelievable. I don't know if the focus being way out can do that, but I guess the first thing I'm going to check is the focus. So there is actually a focus knob on the back of these that you can turn, but there ain't no way it's going to take it from this crap to fine lines. Okay, you see it changing? So I'm turning it. Okay, so it is changing. This is the craziest crap I've ever seen. So this is what it's supposed to look like. Let me see if I can get it to play. That's what we're supposed to have. I mean, if focus is off, like look at that. If focus is off, I don't see how that could make the whole screen one color. That's crazy. It has that smell of burning dust. I think it's been sitting a while. Okay, so the first thing we want to test is the focus pin. We want to see if the focus pin is just missing. So here's the socket. You can see how on this it works. You have these bladed connectors here. They call those bifurcated, cut in half. Now, if that connector wasn't connected to the focus wire, it does look like somebody's been screwing with it, doesn't it? Does it look like those? I guess it does. So that needs to connect to a pin in here. See the pins on the outside that the other ones push up against? See the glue that looks kind of sloppy, like maybe somebody glued one on or something? Some glue there too. Okay, so if our focus pin is missing, broken off the tube, it would do that. And it is the one in here. No, it's there. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to clean it with a like a little file that I can put in there and just try to clean the side of that pin to make sure that that is touching it. If that was not touching it, you would have no focus, but it seemed like when I turned it, it was adjusting it, which would mean that I have control over it, so it must be touching it. Okay, I'll tell you another thing. And another thing, I don't like the looks of that cap. Now, I don't know what that cap does, but it's on the neck board and it looks like crap. So this could be a situation where we've recapped the, I'm using the royal we people, I didn't do it, but me and my fellow arcade brethren and sisterin have recapped the deflection board and have recapped the high voltage board, but didn't change the one cap on the neck board. So I'm going to clean that pin, and then I'm going to go see what that cap is connected to. All right, so I tried as best I could to clean the pin a little bit. All right, so working back. Oh, the capacitor is on the B+ line. There's nothing on the focus line. So this was that capacitor. Now, I don't know. That's probably leaking out of that capacitor, but it could just be a bunch of filth that got caught under there because the board's all dirty and everything like they usually are. But it is kind of bulged up, so it's probably electrolyte that leaked out. Is that what that is, an electrolytic capacitor? Is it electrolyte? It's like what's in Gatorade. I'm sure that's how that works. Okay, so I replaced it just so that I got all new caps. Okay, so then I looked at the focus wire. And it was actually soldered all right. I'm going to touch it up just to make sure. But it is connected to that pin. All right, so once it comes back, it connects here. Alright, and that ain't the greatest looking thing. That's the focus, and that's the screen, which is the brightness, basically. Kind of. And that's all that there is on the neck board for focus. So then it comes back here, and it connects to this. And on the other end of that, it connects straight into the back of the focus pot. So there's not much to the focus. Now, watch it be the freaking flyback, after I said earlier that the flybacks are usually good. Alright, so I'm going to clean up that pin and everything, and then we'll try it again. Alright, so we have this connector here. One pin isn't even populated. And so if you check one pin, you've got 32 volts. Check the other pin, you've got 179 volts. So it's getting its video B+. And it's not that far off. It's supposed to be 181. 31 volts. 179 volts. Interesting. What am I looking at here? Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, Ron, you did the worst soldering job ever when you put that cap in. That's not the cap, folks. Come on, that's the cap. People, why would you think that about me? So I don't know what that is, but it's worth the look. Alright, so that was the ground. And it just broke off. But I think it was probably on there, just not very good. So I'll clean that up and put it back on there. Alright, so just to confirm, I hooked it up to the scope. And yeah, everything looks cool. I mean, obviously, I don't see... This has got to be... I don't even think it's a focus problem. Because you can disconnect the focus wire from a tube and it'll just go a little off focus. I mean, this looks like there's absolutely no definition at all. So I don't... The thing about all this is a vector monitor typically, if everything's way out of bounds, the thing won't work. It'll just not turn on. It shuts down. So I think first thing to do is to pull the high voltage cage and just give it a look over. It could be all kinds of stuff in there, but it very well might be that flyback. So we'll pull it out, put it on the bench, and look at it, and just see what work's been done to it, and if they missed anything, and if we can see anything that looks janky. All right, folks, here is the high voltage cage. You know, I was just thinking, I just had a nightmare in the daytime. I mean, while I'm awake. A bad yoke might do that. Ugh. You know, because basically it's supposed to draw a line that looks like that. But if the yoke's bad, it can't do that. It can't move the beam and you make it do its thing, right? It might just be throwing it all over the place or unable to control it. So it might be the yoke, or it might be... I've been trying to research it online. Of course, like usual, no one alive has ever seen what mine's doing and then posted it online. That's how most of my problems end up. I'm sure other people have seen it, but they've never posted about it that I can find. So I don't really know what we're looking for. Like I said, you can disconnect the focus wire usually. Well, that's not great. You can usually disconnect the focus wire or have a broken pin and you'll get a hell of a lot better focus than that. I mean, it would at least be legible, but often if like the line breaks on the focus, you turn the knob and it just doesn't do anything. But it's still halfway focused. It just looks fuzzy. This is something completely else. Alright, so at some point someone has replaced the capacitors. That one looks fairly newer. Who knows? Wow, that was almost cinematography. Yeah, looks like they're due again. What do you think? Yeah, I guess it's ready for another cap kit. But I don't think that's going to fix it. Also, they didn't replace the Zener diodes, which would be helpful. Also, R920 has at least been hot. Okay, so I think what I'll do, I'll replace the Zener diodes, even though our B plus is fine. So this connector here, basically, you've got negative 27 and positive 27 coming in, and then you've got the video B plus coming out, which is like 181. It's doing that, right? And then this connector here, you've got the screen voltage coming out, which lights up the screen, basically. And then you've got the focus voltage coming out. If the focus voltage is completely missing, like the line is broke, like I said, it'll still work. It just won't be very focused. It could be we've got a problem with the screen voltage. I don't think, though, that it can make it do what it's doing. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I've seen a bad yoke on a raster monitor do similar stuff before, but on vectors work completely different. I don't know why it would be doing that, but maybe something's doing it. Okay, so new Zeners, new capacitors, and test the resistors. I don't like the looks of this cap either. I think that's involved with the high voltage C916. It could be that we have a situation where the B plus is correct, but the high voltage is way off. I don't have a high voltage probe, though. They should be linked together, but if there's a problem with the component somewhere, namely the flyback, there could be a situation where your B plus is correct, but the high voltage is way too high or way too low. Maybe what we're seeing is the picture is huge, and we're seeing just a little part of it, and that's why it looks so weird or something. I don't know. Interesting one. All right, folks. So I posted online about it on the Killer List of Video Games and got a couple different opinions. Our buddy Lilypad, look, it's a forum. People, it's a forum. That's his name. It might be a woman. I don't know. I've never met the person. Lilypad says they think it's a broken focus pin in the neck board, but we already looked at that. And I tested continuity from the high voltage cage all the way up to the at least the pin in the neck board socket, and it's all connected. So I don't think that's it. So then I took the high voltage cage and I put it in another monitor, and that monitor came right up with that high voltage cage. So apparently it's either on the neck board or the tube or something else, okay? So then Andrew posted that that's not what's going on. He thinks that it's the beam deflecting off the side of the tube. Instead of drawing the line on the tube, it's way over here, and the electrons are bouncing off the side of the tube, and that's why you have that rainbow look. I was kind of thinking something like that too, because again, I'm pretty sure if the focus wire is completely gone, you can see a better picture than that. So what we're seeing, I think, is like a shadow, a haunt of the picture or something, right? So anyway, I checked the low voltage, and sure enough, it has this replacement Arcade Shop low voltage unit. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about Arcade Shop. We love Arcade Shop. It is a LV2K. So this entire little section here they replace with this little low voltage unit because this thing fries a lot on these whenever there's problems. So someone has replaced it, and checking our negative volts in, we had negative 35. Negative volts out is negative 26. Okay, positive volts in, we had plus 35. Positive volts out, we had plus 35. So it's not regulating the positive side of the low voltage. The problem, though, is these are surface mount designs. So you've got these little transistors on there. Let's see if we can even read what it is. Oh, yeah, we can see it. Kind of. It's a BCOXNO2A. So I pried this one off. Look, I don't do surface mount design stuff, folks. Don't make me keep arguing with you. So I pried this one off, and whenever I test it, it's basically just open, although they may test different. I don't know how you... I mean, if you test them like a regular regulator or transistor, it's open, okay? So, I don't know what we're going to do. Well, I guess we could just put in one of these that I've had sitting around for 15 years. So this is an old school LV2000 low voltage power supply retrofit kit for Wells Garner color XY monitor, model 19K6100. This was made by Jeffrey Hendricks and Anders Knudsen way back in 1998 when they did the first one. So I don't know when these were made, but I've had these sitting around forever. I don't even remember where I got them. But this is the same thing as this. It's just a different version, an earlier version of it. But it has sweet, sweet through-hole design parts, right? It also has little adjustment potentiometers. So I'm going to build one of these, populate it, install it on the board, and then hopefully that will fix our low voltage problem, and then we'll see if that fixes the issue where either there's a really bad focus problem or we're bouncing electrons off the inside of the tube. All right, folks. So that's what it looks like after you put it all together. I don't have the little standees that it's supposed to have, but if you clean up the board enough, you can just mount it right flat on the board, right? So I got to pop this one off, and we're going to pop this one in. I think I've got the LEDs on right. I may have them backwards, so they might not light up, but we'll see. It took about 30 minutes. All right, folks, all loaded up. Can you tell I'm talking loud so that I don't get sued by the guys singing lawyers and... Wait a minute. I wasn't supposed to say what song it was. So this little board's a little smaller than the other one, and there's a little wire you have to put on to get it to the power coming in. The LEDs, like I said, I might have them backwards, but we're going to go ahead and plug it up. And Andrew was suggesting, and I didn't know you could do this, but it makes sense, that you just plug this in and the degauss coil, and don't plug anything else in, and then you can test your low voltage without having to worry about burning up transistors and all of that. So we'll try that and see if this is negative 26 and positive 26 like it's supposed to be. Okay, so I rebuilt another deflection board and put in the cabinet, and it came right up. So that all that crap that looked like it was focus, it literally was something on the deflection board. So now it's just a matter of working through the deflection board part by part and figuring out what's wrong. I've checked all of the transistors, checked all the resistors, all the capacitors. However, the 4 capacitors in the spot killer circuit haven't been replaced yet. So I wonder if it's something with that. I'll probably try that first just to make sure. But so we still got a little ways to go. However, we have confirmed that it had nothing to do with the actual focus. It's something on the deflection board, which is crazy. All right, folks. So that vector monitor is very hard to film, but you should be able to see what's going on. It's not flickering like it appears to be in the camera. It's nice and solid here in person. My eyes at least can't see it. So the other deflection board, we're pretty sure that the problem is on the right side of the deflection board. But I can't find anything wrong with it. All the resistors check out. I can't find any bad traces. I replaced the small transistors. None of that helped. They all tested fine. I hate replacing transistors and diodes that test fine, you know. But I didn't fix anything. The 2 heat-sinked transistors, I don't have those specific ones, but they test fine. I could do a bunch of trick stuff like try to swap it with the other side, but if one of them is bad, it might burn up something on the other side. So there's something wrong with the right side of that deflection board. I would have swore that that was like a tube thing or something, but nope. It's the right side of the deflection board, apparently. So I was able to get the other deflection board working. I rebuilt the low voltage section on it. Of course, recapped it. Look, we're a little bit too bright. Let's turn down the brightness slightly. Did you see that? It was like just slight retrace lines. Okay. And you can mess with your focus to get if you've got like jitters, you can defocus it a little bit. See, that's in focus. I don't know if you can see all this, but that's slightly off focus. So you can stop it from jittering and things. Watch, there won't be the retrace lines, hopefully. I don't know how much of this you can even see. It's so intense, it's really hard to film. So it's just, it's so vivid in person. If you've played one, you know. It's so vivid that it's hard for a little point and shoot camera to properly film it. But I am not any good at playing this, but we'll test it. I think this is one of those games that's probably a lot like Defender, where if you get in the zone, you're good at it. If, you know, eventually it clicks with you. Oh, he got me. Oh, he got me so bad. Oh, Electro killed his ass. Uh-oh, they're walking. I timed it wrong. Oh, they weren't up. I thought they were at the top. They were not at the top. Oh, he got me. Did it get me? Did I make it? No. Damn. I didn't even see it coming. Oh, I went the wrong way. I was trying to go up to get out of the spike. I didn't have another charge. I thought I could zap them. I was wrong. Oh, and you always go out the same way. So there you go, folks. It's a cool game. Like I said, I'm not any good at it. This is a little before my time. I was born in 78. So by the time everybody was playing this thing, I was but a wee lad. The games I played were more around... The first ones I can remember playing were like 87, 88. That late. So I completely missed Tempest. I found out about it later. But I think we've got her going. It looks like the white text might be a little bit red. So I'll probably maybe turn up the green a little bit or turn down the red a little bit. But that deflection board looks really good. So now the other one, there's something on the right side of it, like I said, that's bad. I tested every component, every single thing. I can't find one thing wrong with it. So the way to fix it is to send it to somebody who's better than me at fixing it. Or to swap each part one by one by one by one, even though it tests good, with a brand new part. And eventually you'll find whatever the hell's wrong with it. I tested all the traces. There's no broke traces. I tested the connectors. I tested everything. So I don't know. So there you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is the mighty Tempest. What a cool game.